Our story begins in the desert, in the middle of which is an abandoned and ruined city. On one of the streets of this abandoned town, a boy lies there. His clothes were dirty, and he had handcuffs on his hands. What is this place? The boy doesn't know where he is or how he got here. Suddenly a voice appeared in the boy's head. This voice will accompany the boy throughout our story. Buddy, don't look at the sky. And don't say I didn't warn you about the 140-degree temperature and that it's going up 10 degrees every minute. Oh, is someone grilling meat? Ah, yes, you're almost ready. I suggest you add some spices, so you'll taste even better. The voice in his head jokes at the boy. Meanwhile, he is lying on the ruins of one of the houses trying to get up and look around. The boy is very hot. Look, there's a crust on his back already. The voice in the head continues to make jokes about the boy. Meanwhile, he gets up and looks around. The boy had serious wounds on his body. Because of the incredible heat, the boy was not feeling well. The boy does not understand how he got here and what is happening around him. Sweat drips down his face, and drops of blood can be seen on his face. God, can you not think of everything at once? There's too much data to analyze. Why don't you save up some money and buy me a new processor and card? Turns out the voice in the boy's head. It's like a computer built into the head, a voice that helps the boy make decisions and prompts him. The boy looks around and sees a building. It was a public restroom that was over 700 years old. A voice was telling him it was a place with a 3.5-star danger rating. Although the toilets have been out of service for ages, the mid-mutation fallen are always welcome visitors. The voice in his head analyzed the building and told the boy that there was danger inside in the form of mutant monsters, mutating in various places. Also in this public restroom, various monsters can hide and pose different dangers. The boy looked in the distance and saw the road that leads out of the city. But the voice in his head told him that there is not a single source of water for 100 kilometers. The voice believes that the boy will die from dehydration halfway there. The boy realizes that the voice in his head tells him information about everything that comes into his view. Wherever the boy looks, he will hear information about that place, or some fact that will help him survive. A voice in his head tells the boy that there is only one safe direction he can continue in and try to get out of town. So the boy, looking at another sandy street, he hears the phrase, "Right, go that way, there is water there." The boy notices the shackles on his hands and tries to remove them, but he can't. His hands were covered in abrasions and wounds. The boy was still suffering from incredible heat. The boy wonders if he has become a criminal in this life, or why he is handcuffed and cannot get out of it, and why he is in such terrible conditions, where every breath he takes is hard for him. A voice in his head tells the boy that this thing looks really weird at first glance. It's shackles. But in fact, people stopped believing in it a long time ago because the aristocrats from the 4th floor turned the shackles into a means of tracking slaves. The voice tells the boy that it is better not to waste time now to remove these shackles, for the boy's health was deteriorating by the minute, and it is better to find shelter now. Otherwise, the boy will burn under the sun. The boy thinks over what the voice in his head just told him. The protagonist realizes that he has fallen into a very strange world. It was also a very urgent situation, as he felt very bad and could hardly take steps forward. A person can last an hour at 160 degrees and 49 minutes at 180 degrees. The boy realizes that he doesn't have much time, so he can only hope that there really is a water source on this road that the voice in his head warned him about. The boy also realizes that he's being watched. The boy couldn't get into this world for nothing. So he raises his head up and tries to find with his eyes the camera that is filming him. He doesn't succeed, but at the same time he feels someone's presence and observation all the time. We see a large room with a big screen in the middle. This screen is showing a boy and how he is surviving in a very hot world. People are watching him and are angry. Why is the boy still alive? People are outraged and unhappy that the boy has lasted more than 10 minutes. People obviously wanted him to die quickly, and it was their entertainment to watch the characters suffer. There were people standing on the balcony in this room, wearing strange white glasses, and they were wondering, did he really go through that blue door? Aren't blue areas the hottest? Why does he look so chipper? People clearly couldn't understand why the boy was still alive, and why he looked so good in the terrible weather. The girl also standing on the balcony said she wanted to see monsters attack people, and wondered where all the monsters were, and why no one was attacking the boy. The girl also wondered, couldn't the host have put a gifted person pretending to be a slave in here? All the people in this strange room were only concerned with one thing, why the boy seemed perfectly calm in such monstrous conditions, and why he hadn't died yet. It was entertainment for these people to watch slaves die in this show. Meanwhile, the boy walked through the ruined city and counted his steps. 2996, 2997. The boy knew that people live in the tower. Outside the tower, it is very dangerous and impossible to survive. Apparently, the people watching the boy on the big screen are in the tower and they are safe, unlike everyone else who is outside it. As the boy walked, thoughts appeared in his head. He tried to remember everything he had learned to determine where he was. 700 years no one had lived here. There was a tracking device, a tower, a hostile environment, mutants and monsters, an aristocracy from the 4th floor. After thinking over everything the boy had learned in his short time in this world, he realized that he was in a game of chance for survival. Ha! Interesting! The boy was not at all disappointed by this conclusion. Rather, on the contrary, it added to his enthusiasm and desire to win this game, and to disappoint the rich men watching him. Some time passed. The temperature outside rose to 160 degrees. The boy was getting hotter and hotter. He realized that he had to find some shade within a quarter of an hour. Otherwise, his effectiveness would be greatly reduced. The boy was walking through the city agreeing with the voice in his head, and the voice led him to the water. And some time ago, the boy still reached the water source, and in the hope of salvation came to check if it was working. The voice in the boy's head resented the fact that they could have put more water points in the life outside the tower under such conditions. Fortunately, the water machine was working, and the boy was able to wash his hands and cool down a bit because the temperature outside was increasing by the minute. It was very hot outside, but the water the boy found was ice cold, which meant that the water underground had not yet had time to warm up, unlike the air. The boy realized that if the water was cold and it hadn't had time to warm up like everything else above ground, he should go down into the sewer. The temperature there should be more comfortable, and he could take a break and cool off. The boy realized that if there was a water supply, there must be a sewer entrance near the place where he washed his hands. So he looked around for a manhole. After a short search, the boy still saw the iron circle on the asphalt and realized that he found what he was looking for. And soon, he will finally be able to cool down. Because in the meantime, the temperature rose even more, and the heat became so strong that the boy found it difficult to breathe in the air. However, the boy realized that this was only a temporary measure. No matter how lucky he was now that he was able to escape the debilitating grease, the boy knew that he would not be able to last long in such conditions. For he had no food and no other means for a comfortable life. But it seems that the hero of our story realizes his situation. He still had handcuffs on his hands and decides to go down into the sewers to hide at least for a while from the heat outside. The boy realizes that his only chance to survive and get out of the game is to find a way back to the tower. The boy realizes that the rich people in the tower are betting on him and predicting how quickly he will die in such conditions. He doesn't know what language people speak here, and he doesn't know if his handcuffs are equipped with microphones and can transmit sound. So the boy decides to show those watching him how he feels about them. The boy decided to show that he was not going to play by their rules. He was not going to be a toy in the hands of the rich men in the tower. So the boy looked up and tried to find the camera that should be watching him. Then the boy smilingly made an obscene gesture, looking up and hoping that the people in the tower would see it and get angry. But the boy didn't care. He wasn't going to be a toy in anyone's hands, and he wasn't going to play these games knowing that somewhere they were betting on how long he would stay alive. Everyone in the tower was shocked by this insolent behavior of the boy. Everyone was puzzled by what kind of arrogant slave it is. Many wondered if it was an ordinary slave and not gifted, because according to the rules of the game, the host had to put in the game only slaves. One of the people in the tower was furious at this development and threw his drink glass on the floor and shouted, "He's just an actor! It's all staged!" The man was unhappy that the boy had lived so long, because all the people there had gathered to watch the slaves die outside the tower. People on all sides were screaming for the show organizers to release the monsters and for the boy to finally lose this game. But some people were screaming that it was even funny that the boy held on for so long, as many people were placing bets on how long the player would last under such conditions. The girl sitting on the balcony is talking on the phone, and she is told that the organizers guarantee the death of the boy and that he is absolutely from the lowest floor. The lowest floor means the lowest position in society, and that the boy has absolutely no magical talents. The girl on the phone will guarantee that the boy will definitely lose in the near future, and he will not survive there for a long time. The girl nods satisfied and replies to her companion, "I hope I don't have to tell you what to do." It is obvious that the girl wants the boy to die as soon as possible. She doesn't like how long he is kept in such horrible conditions outside the tower, because usually the players die within a few minutes after the show starts. But this boy was an exception. The action moves to the suburbs. We see a suburban chic house with an orange roof and white walls. And in this house, someone hangs up the phone after a nervous and tense conversation. Phew! The man in a raincoat and gray hair inhales tiredly and is glad to see the end of this unpleasant dialogue for him. There is someone standing behind the man, and the man addresses this person. He says that the target is in the blue zone, and the person behind the man's back should pretend to be a dead monster and suddenly destroy the player. The man comes up with a plan to stop the boy, because apparently the woman in the tower was very unhappy with the player's survivability and ordered the man to solve the problem. The man tells the man behind him that the guests watching in the tower must not suspect anything, for then the bets will be cancelled. The man behind the man responds affirmatively to his order. A man asks what talent the knight he just assigned to perform this task has. The knight replies that he has a level 755 talent, a talent called Steel General, his accompanying power, the 4th stage of the 2nd level. The knight reported all of his abilities, so that the man would have no doubt that he would successfully eliminate the target and fulfill the order. The man replies to the knight, "Not bad, but the blue zone monsters are very strong. You better control your emotions well." The man cautions the knight that, even with his skills and abilities, everything will be so easy. So the main thing is to keep him focused on achieving the goal. The man tells the knight that if the monsters smell any negative emotions, they will attack immediately. The monsters in that area are very dangerous, and even though the knight is strong, they can defeat him. He told the knight to go to the crossing point. The man also gave the knight a piece of paper with the number of the area where the boy is. The man is very hopeful that the knight will successfully carry out the order. Remember, even if you die, he must be taken to the grave with you if... The man gave the knight's last admonition after the tower woman's call. The man is obliged to fulfill her instruction, and the knight, this is the man's last hope, so he has no right not to fulfill this instruction. Even at the cost of his own life, he must finish off the tenacious boy. The knight coldly replied that he understood the order and left the office. The action of the story is transferred to the boy's past life, to one of the dark alleys where a crowd of teenagers beats up one boy. Someone in the crowd wonders, why didn't he blink an eye? Doesn't he feel any pain? The boys clearly beat the boy for a long time, but he showed no emotion, did not scream, and there were no wounds or bruises on his body. Demon! He is just an insensitive demon! The bullies could not understand the reasons for the boy's behavior, why he did not scream and why he did not feel pain while they were beating him. People often whispered behind the boy's back. They knew that his father had died, but the boy did not even shed a tear. People wondered whether he was a man or a boy, because people feel emotions, but the boy never showed any of the feelings, and even when one of the main members of his family died, he did not react to it and did not show any emotion. People used to say that even a dog had more feelings than this boy. Everyone around him knew that he did not like to show emotions, and no one had ever seen him cry, laugh, or otherwise show his sensuality. No one knew why the boy was like this, and why he was so different from other people. The cops, in one of the buildings of the police headquarters, were whispering that the boy had solved a serial murder case that had no leads for 10 years, but the boy was able to solve the case in a week. The cops thought this kid was really good at catching scumbags. Incredibly, the boy was able to actually solve a serial murder that the police had been unable to solve for years. The boy, hearing all these rumors around him, jokingly said, "Well, you bet. Only a freak can understand a freak." Then the boy would laugh and go about his business without paying attention to the rumors that were going around him, and how people were talking about him behind his back. But all the boy's quiet, measured life lasted until one day. We see a rainy street and a group of policemen trying to arrest a boy standing in the middle of the street. The policemen have guns pointed at the boy, obviously thinking he may resist arrest. One of the policemen shouts, "Drop the gun! Put your hands on your head!" Clearly the police are trying to stop the boy from doing something bad. A boy in a blue shirt and with blonde hair is holding a gun. He shouts to the police, "Get out of the way!" The boy is threatening others with the gun and is clearly trying to do what is on his mind, and no one can stop him, not even the police. Then a gunshot rang out and the boy shot at someone, despite the threats of the police and the fact that the police might use force and shoot the boy too. The boy fired the gun without thinking about the consequences. After that, we see another boy, wearing a black shirt and dark hair, fall after being hit by a bullet. We see blood flying out of the boy, and Lodzi after being wounded by a gun. The boy falls on his back. The police didn't expect such a development, so they immediately started to apprehend the attacker. They managed to catch the blonde boy with the gun and apprehend him. We see the police handcuffing him and taking away the gun, but the boy he shot is already lying on the wet floor and we see blood near his face. Our story returns to the sewers, where a boy is hiding from the incredible heat. The boy found water and began to wash his face and hands to cool his body, as his body had gotten very hot during the time he was outside. I am in the water, and he is reminded of his face from his past life, because in this life he looks very different. But in the reflection of this water, the water that just saved his life, he briefly saw again the reflection of the face from the past world. But this did not last long, and after a few seconds the boy again saw his real face in the reflection of the water, and his thoughts returned to him about how he could still escape and survive in these incredible conditions. A voice in the boy's head taunts him and says, "The face of the slave on the first floor of the tower deserves 9 points out of 10. Ha ha." The boy realizes he doesn't look so good. He still has abrasions and wounds all over his body, some of them bleeding, and he still has electronic handcuffs on his arms that restrain his movements. A voice in his head warns the boy that someone is coming to him. Apparently, it was the knight that the man sent to the boy to destroy him. The boy sensed the approach of someone stranger long before his arrival, and the boy realizes that an uninvited guest is approaching him and must be properly received. The boy has a plan, and he does not intend to give up and die so easily. The boy stood in one of the corridors of the sewers and began to listen to the knight approaching. He asked the voice in his head, "What are the characteristics of this knight, and what abilities does he possess?" The boy wanted to know how strong the enemy who came to destroy him. Fortunately, the voice in his head could easily recognize the characteristics, and how dangerous any character was. The voice in the boy's head was indeed very surprised. It didn't expect to see such a strong character sent to destroy the boy. It said that the character was a level 755 talent level, a steel general, and his accompanying power was a level 4 level 2. The voice in his head suggested that perhaps this guy was probably an elite guy and with abilities comparable to generals. The knight was indeed very strong and very difficult to defeat in a fair fight. The voice in his head told the boy that it was obvious that this character would easily defeat him. The boy had no chance of facing such a serious threat on his own. But the boy said confidently, "I don't think so." The boy was confident in his strength and his wit. He realized that he did not have to be as strong as this knight to easily defeat him. The boy had another plan, and he did not intend to give up so easily and come out the loser of this game. The boy heard the iron footsteps of the knight, as there was a strong echo in the sewer, and every step of the knight's iron shoes echoed throughout the sewer. The boy understood that judging from the sound, he was 10 meters away from the threat, and the knight could already hear him, and would soon be able to see him. The boy realizes that the sewer is winding, and the knight won't be able to get close to the boy, so it will be hard for him to kill him. The boy can already hear the footsteps of the approaching enemy. "Hello, friend, you finally arrived." The boy jokingly greeted the knight, realizing that he was not expecting this and would be confused after greeting his enemy. The knight began to look around, hoping to find the source of the sound and locate the boy. Turned around as fast as he was able, the boy was not surprised by his reaction, and he jokingly told him, "And this is the speed of a man with second-level strength and the talent of a steel general. Are you using Indian time?" The boy was clearly not enamored with the knight's fighting ability and how he reacts to danger, so he thought he could safely joke with him. The boy's mind has a plan, and he realized that this character could not threaten him and could not defeat him. The knight was confused. He didn't understand where the sound was coming from, and how the boy knew all the details of his abilities and characteristics. After all, it was a mystery. But the boy in detail described all the secrets of this character, and the knight was puzzled. "You needn't be so surprised. You're curious. How do I know about all this?" The boy still continued to communicate with his enemy, asking him questions and bantering with him. "You don't seriously think that some slave from the lowest floor can last so long here?" The boy continues to communicate with the knight. He tries to sow doubt in him and scare him, because the most important thing in these places is not to show any emotion. If you show emotion, you will be immediately attacked by the monsters and will destroy you in seconds. Therefore, The tactic in the boy is to confuse the knight and lead him into doubt and fear. Because he does not know exactly where he came and who he came to destroy, he blindly follows the order of the man. Or do you really think this is a normal murder mission? Ha, you're so innocent. The boy continues to tease the knight. He tries to convince him that he doesn't know why he came here and who is fighting against him. The boy tries to instill fear in the knight and scare him because then the knight will lose instantly. Oh, wait! It's about to get really fun at the gambling house. A lot of people want me dead, so the boss sent you to deal with me, but are you sure this isn't part of their plan? The boy continues to manipulate the knight. He's almost convinced him that he's been tricked into dying for the show. The knight is still confused, standing there trying to find with his eyes the boy, and where the sound is coming from. A lowly slave who was supposed to die outside the tower, but not only did he not die, he mocked everyone. Good effect of the show, isn't it? The boy convinces the three kings that he is just part of the show, and no one seriously hopes that he will be able to eliminate the boy. No one really wants that. The knight begins to slowly consider the boy's words and wonder why he is really here. In the meantime, the boss has sent you, poor thing, to kill me. Everyone is just waiting for you to tear me apart. But you know what? After a few minutes of listening to this boy's every word and thinking about it, in a real scenario, you won't tear me up. You'll stay here forever. With these words, the boy comes out from around the corner and shows himself to the knight. All this time, the boy was hiding from him and trying to confuse him, so the knight couldn't understand exactly where the sound was coming from and where the boy was. Because of the echo, he couldn't pinpoint it. But now the boy came out, absolutely not afraid of anything, because the boy realized that he had already won. Well, I'll step on your corpse and continue to mock these aristocrats. Confidence in the voice of the boy has increased. He has already fully realized that he has defeated the knight and the knight has no chance to get out of here alive. After these words, the boy raised his hands up and pointed his fingers at some creature on the ceiling. Right now, the croupier will start a new game, and the players will become even crazier. So, knight, are you ready to accept the last gift? The boy already understood the plight of the knight. He knew he didn't have long to live. As soon as the boy finished his sentence, he pointed his finger sharply at the knight, and at the same second a huge monster pounced from the ceiling on the boy's opponent. It started attacking the knight and suddenly defeated him in a split second. The knight lost because he showed emotion. He really couldn't understand why he came here, and why the boss sent him to this case, and how the boy was able to survive. Because usually slaves don't live so long. And after the knight showed emotion, he was immediately attacked by monsters, and after that he had no chance to get out of here alive. The monster attacked the knight in cold blood, while the boy calmly watched his enemy get what he deserved. For the boy was able to overpower the strong and experienced foe without a single blow of a weapon. The boy praised the monster for a job well done. Then the boy jokingly said that he was upset because the sewer had clean water, but the knight had dirtied it up. But at this moment, the boy's main thing was not to show any emotion, even the most negative, like joy or revenge. Because if the boy would show emotion, the monster would attack him at the same second, and then the boy would have no chance to get out of here alive. So the boy calmly and without a single emotion looked at the defeated enemy. But then the boy finds something strange on the surface of the water. He picks up a strange small black-colored device with a blue light in the middle. He wonders what it is, and a voice in his head tells him that this is the return device that the boy wanted for a long time. Just by twisting this device, the boy will move wherever he wants. That is, it was a device to move in space. The boy smiled as he looked at the device he had found. He realized that he had found what he had been looking for so long. He realized that now he could easily get out of here and escape the monstrous heat outside, he said with a smile on his face. I hope it's more interesting in the tower. Now the boy could realize what he had been dreaming about for so long. He would finally be in the tower, where all the people and all the rich people, including those who were watching him now, were located. After the boy started the device to work, the boy was immersed in yellow light. Everything around began to glow and make strange noises. But after a few seconds of the boy, recently standing in the middle of the sewer, was not left. And trace, he disappeared, moved in space. Let me explain for those who don't understand how this all worked. First of all, no, the protagonist did not control the creature. Secondly, there was a moment when the man told the knight that he should be careful because monsters sense negative emotions. And when our protagonist deliberately started a dialogue with the knight, the latter started having negative emotions, and that creature attacked him. You ask, why not on the protagonist but on the knight? Because it was mentioned that the protagonist is not like everyone else. He is deprived of most emotions, including negative ones. The action shifts to the Foreign Intelligence Corps. HQ-7, a confident boy sits on a couch and listens to what is being reported to him by another man standing in front of him. The man says, age approximately 18 or 19 years old, male. Most likely some sort of report of an emergency, an urgent situation is taking place. That will be all. The servant had finished his story and was now looking at the boy sitting in the chair cleaning his sword. That's all. The boy listening to the servant's story could not believe that this was all the information he could give him. The action took place in the Foreign Intelligence Corps. The boy was the captain of the 7th unit called Guqing Yu. The boy's nickname was Wu Ju. He had black hair and was wearing a white shirt with a purple cape. Ha 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 ha! Your team's interrogation level has dropped sharply. The boy who was sitting on the couch before was also surprised by such humble information. He laughed from the level of intelligence and information retrieval that was provided to them. This boy was the captain of the 13th unit called Liu Mu. The boy tried to ask the worker why it was not possible to interrogate the suspect and find out more information. The worker replied that it was useless to intimidate or lure the suspect. The suspect could calmly point out the shortcomings of our interrogation methods, and as a result, the team members themselves became the ones who were interrogated. The boy sitting on the couch wondered, how is that possible? Who the hell did you catch? He didn't understand how some suspect could be superior to experienced investigators and police officers, why someone would dare to be impertinent and obstruct the investigation. The boy cleaning his sword asked the worker what he was asking in the interrogation. The worker replied that it was a bit weird. The suspect asked, how many floors are in the tower? And how do monsters appear? He asked about the accompanying power and talents. Also, he asked about things that even a 3-year-old child knows. I don't know if he's faking it or really stupid. Apparently, the suspect didn't know basic things about this world, as if he had just recently entered this universe and was trying to learn everything about it. But the investigators were surprised by such a thing. The boy who was sitting on the couch happily said that he was a pretty interesting kid. He offered to give him to him, because the 13th Division, to which he belonged, was short of people. So the boy would be happy to take care of this suspect and talk to him. You want to recruit him? Then you're sure shooting sparrows with a cannon. The boy who had been cleaning the sword before was skeptical of the other boy's suggestion of interrogation. The boy said that 5 months ago, their team received a report of a loan shark. A man reported that a poor man who owed him money was missing. Later, when the boy looked into the case, he discovered that the number of missing persons was much higher. The boy, listening to him, interrupted the story and asked, isn't the internal affairs of the Straitjacket Corps a concern? Why did you interfere? The boy didn't understand why the other boy tried to get involved in a case that didn't belong to their department, and that had nothing to do with them. The boy wondered, why do these noble soldiers care about the fate of the lower-class people? At this time he was looking into the reflection of his ball, which he had just been polishing all this time, and in that ball was reflected his face and his dark hair. The boy offered his story. He said they only considered someone from the 3rd floor and above to be the owner. The boy followed the clues and found the gambling house. The second boy was surprised and asked again, a gambling house? It seems that the rich people were bored and decided to have a Hunger Games. The boys couldn't believe that someone was betting on human survival at this time. Yes. The boy continues his story and says that it's the croupier of the gambling house from the 4th floor, and that they decided to put people in the blue zone, and in that zone watches them, and watches them die there. Boy, listen, at this time of the story was furious. The blue zone? They're out of their minds. The boy couldn't believe that. How cruel these people are, and how dare they put living people in this maximally dangerous zone, where they could be threatened at any second and where the conditions for existence are unbearable. The white zone doesn't impress them anymore. It turns out that people used to be put in the white zone. It was more peaceful and not so dangerous. But apparently the rich got bored and decided to send people to the more dangerous blue zone, where there's no chance of survival for those who get there. The blue zone is different in that it has extreme temperatures and a high level of danger, and it is more fun for the rich. They like to watch people there suffer and die very quickly. But their calculations are broken by one boy. This is the boy with whom our story began. It is his image that the boys in this room are now looking at. The screen shows an image of the boy showing obscene gestures to the camera, through which the rich people are watching him and betting on him. The boy says that this survivor has lived for almost 2 hours, and has not attracted a single fallen person. Moreover, he says that people sent an assassin to deal with him. But in the end, he was killed himself. Then I got an anonymous call. It was a woman, sounded pretty young. The boy said that after researching the boys, he received a call from a woman with an unusual request. Why this adventure is not handled by the Straitjacket Corps? Since the fourth floor has never had a warm feeling for their intelligence corps. The boy could not understand why they were obliged to deal with this case, because it was not in their jurisdiction, and they were not obliged to solve these problems. These problems should be solved by other people who are directly engaged in the fulfillment of such tasks. The other boy replies that he couldn't understand it either. The main goal of this woman who called him this is to bypass the croupier and save Bai Wu. The boy said that the woman wants to beat the head croupier, who's in charge of betting on people's survival in this game. So the survivor is Bai Wu. Interesting. The second boy was really interested in this story. In the entire history of their corps, they hadn't encountered this kind of story or done this kind of task yet, so this and the forgiveness really surprised them. A boy asks his friend if he is good at interrogations, and why he himself is not personally involved in the case and help. The other boy listened with interest to the story sitting on the couch. The other boy also said that he was thinking of getting personally involved in the case and asked to be shown what kind of immortal he was. He slowly got up from the couch and wanted to try to solve the case as soon as possible and find out what the problem was. The boy said that this is a great weapon, and one would need to keep a good eye on him. With these words, the boy put the sword back in its sheath and looked thoughtfully out the window. 700 years ago, the world ended. The world changed, became too harsh. Monsters called the Fallen began to appear continuously. We see the planet Rapid turn red, and red rifts appear on its surface, and everything around it floods with red light. Humanity is facing a threat to its existence. Never before in the history of mankind has it been so close to complete extinction. It became a real test for all who lived on the planet. At that time, a tall tower appeared before the eyes of mankind. No one knows how this tower came to be or why it was built. But only inside the tower could people live and hope for the future. All those who could afford it gathered inside the tower and began to live there. After all, outside the tower was a deadly danger. No one could not last long there. If a person wanted to survive, he tried with all his might to get into this tower, because only there was safe and calm. After a while, people discovered a power that they could use to resist monsters. After all, without the power, there was no way people could deal with the more powerful and dangerous monsters. Related power. So-called concomitant strength, significantly improves a person's fitness, speed, and other basic abilities. If you want to increase the level of auxiliary power, you should not train hard, but get outside the tower. Only the accompanying power helped people to fight monsters. Otherwise, any encounter with them outside the tower will lead to the death of a person. The longer you stay outside the tower, the higher the level of associated power. In short, outside the tower, you can become stronger. And those who are constantly safe in the tower do not become stronger, but instead become weaker due to natural causes and old age. So if you want to be stronger and resist monsters, you must spend some time outside the tower and improve your accompanying strength. Not only humans but also objects outside the tower can change in a similar way. Over time they become what we call Jilin, meaning not only humans undergo changes in their abilities outside the tower, inanimate objects also change outside the tower. In addition, while an accompanying power is a basic combat ability such as strength and speed, a talent is a powerful superpower. According to current statistics, there are a total of 1024 talents. With talents, you can further improve your strength and become even more susceptible to monster attacks by increasing your accompanying powers, and even more so by adding a talent to them. You will become very strong. The higher the talents, the rarer it is, and the stronger it is. Unfortunately, most people have it between 1,000 and 700. But there are exceptions. There are people with a high level of talent. These people are very strong, much stronger than all the people around them. That is why many people with talents above 500 are attracted to Army Corps. Such people become the main trump card of each corps. After all, they are very strong and ready to face any threat and fulfill any task set by the captains. For example, one of the talented people is Wu Ji. He is the trump card of one of the corps. His greatest achievement is surviving alone for 24 days in the blue zone outside the tower. This showed him as a master of his craft and a very strong fighter, all the while having to face monsters and other limitations of nature. Even the members of the tower's straitjacket corps who had turned their noses up earlier had asked him to join them. After all, this boy had shown himself to be a very strong warrior. By the way, I forgot to tell you, the tower's straitjacket corps and outer intelligence corps is a structure approved by the ruling layer of the 5th floor. The straitjacket corps is made up of the children of aristocrats who always look up to us civilians. Since it's much more dangerous outside the tower, people often refer to the intelligence corps as the refugee corps. It turns out that this whole story is told to a boy survivor in the blue zone by one of the corps members. The boy listens quietly and drinks water from the glass. Afterwards, he answers the narrator. That's how it turns out that this world encourages people who go beyond the tower, that is. But the boy who is telling him the whole story interrupts him and says, "Hey, what are you talking about? The survival rate outside the tower is so low that most people would rather stay in the tower all the time and not upgrade their powers in any way. But at least be safe. The accompanying power, Jilin, talent. All of these can only be obtained by leaving the tower. The longer you stay outside the tower, the higher your accompanying power and talent, and the effectiveness of items increases as well." The boy realizes that you can only improve your abilities in this world outside the tower, because if you stay in the tower and never leave it, you gradually become weaker. The boy remembers the story of Uju who survived 24 days in a row. The boy tried to calculate in his head what his strength was, but his thoughts were interrupted by a girl who shouted out the correct answer. His power has reached a terrifying 8th level. As soon as he meets a fallen man, he destroys him instantly. The girl was clearly ready to tell all about the power and how it increases outside the tower, and she was ready to tell more about this boy's story. That boy who had stayed outside the tower for 24 days in a row had incredible strength. He was no longer afraid of any monsters, because he could destroy any monster in his way. And for this, all it took him 24 days to stay in the blue zone and every minute to increase his strength and talent. At this time, the same boy who was sitting on the couch in the previous room enters the room. He walks in and greets everyone present. The people in the room are wondering why the captain has come to their office, since he usually never does and sits in his room. The boy told all the boys to get out of the office and go for a walk, because he had plans with this boy and wanted to spend some time alone with him. Obviously, he wanted to interrogate him and get some information out of him, so he wanted to refrain from unnecessary presence and asked everyone to go out and leave him alone with him. At this time, the boy was sitting in the office with a glass of water in his hands. During his stay in this place, he carefully looked at the faces of others and studied their behavior and emotions. So after the appearance of a new person in the office and he began to look at him, but our hero was still emotionless and had no emotions, especially fear. So his face was emotionless and emotionless. They did not want to interfere with the boy's interrogation, for they had wanted to get rid of him for a long time. "Well, let's get right to it, boy. Let's get started." The boy had no sooner started the questioning than he got the answer. "I'm ready to join you." The boy didn't even have to listen to the questions in order to understand the phrase and answer it at once. The boy was shocked. He had not expected that our hero would immediately answer his question without even hearing it. In all his history and all his long experience, he had never seen such an ordinary player who was caught outside the tower be able to display such abilities. The boy tried to ask a question to find out how he could do it, but he didn't manage to get the phrase. "But I won't join your team. I want to stay here." The boy did not want to join the team of this man who had obviously come to take him away. He wanted to stay here. The boy said that he was already well acquainted with 2 people from this team, and he did not want to go anywhere else and meet new people. The boy who came to him was still indignant and asked how he knew that they had teams that they wanted to take the boy to. He didn't understand how he had such abilities, but all he got in response were phrases from the blonde boy. "Interrogation, meaning that you know nothing about me. You didn't get rid of me, so you and the man who threw me out of the tower are not together." The boy realized that these people do not threaten him in any way, because if they wanted to kill him just like the one responsible for his presence in the blue zone, they would have tried to do it long ago. But these people do not know anything about the boy, and they are trying to interrogate him, so they do not want to kill him. But all he got in response were phrases from the blonde boy. "Interrogation, meaning that you know nothing about me. You didn't get rid of me, So you and the man who threw me out of the tower are not together. The boy realized that these people do not threaten him in any way, because if they wanted to kill him just like the one responsible for his presence in the blue zone, they would have tried to do it long ago. But these people do not know anything about the boy, and they are trying to interrogate him, so they do not want to kill him. But judging by the girl's reaction, she was very surprised to see you, so your arrival is out of the norm. Apparently, you're not the captain of their unit. The boy explained how he had thought that the commander would want to call him to his team. It was by such logical deductions that he was able to anticipate the boy's questions. Besides, if I'm not mistaken, your shield is broken. Jilin might be damaged too. It seems that the monster you fought are stronger than the ones I've met. The boy listened to the blonde-haired warrior and answered him. How did you know that I used my shield? The boy really didn't understand how he knew about the shield he had just mentioned, for the boy had never told anyone about it. The blonde-haired boy calmly answered him. You have a scar 3 centimeters down from your wrist. The captain asked him again. You could tell that just from that scar? Since you are the captain of the External Intelligence Corps unit, the level of the accompanying force cannot be low. The recovery ability will be the same. Leaving a scar like that on your arm inside the tower would be difficult for humans, and there's no reason to. Normal people have a raised wrist. Yours is depressed. The point of force for using a shield is the wrist joint. That's why people who use the shield for a long time have this deformity. The boy showed his incredible intelligence. Based on his observation, he could tell the smallest details about the captain's fights, so the captain looked at him in surprise. The boy continues his story, and the shield also has scratches on it, indicating that it has been damaged. Gillen's breakage is not something that ordinary fallen can do. The captain at this time looks at the boy with incredible amazement and listens as he recounts the details of his fights with incredible accuracy. And it was all true. The boy was still sitting in shock and had forgotten why he had come here and what he wanted to ask. Sweat was running down his face, and he had not expected such intelligence and judgment from this boy. The captain was indeed very much surprised at such abilities of the boy. He shouted, "He is a real talent." Indeed, the captain had never seen such an accomplished and talented person, so he wanted to lure him to his team by any means possible. The boy also calmly continued his speech without being distracted by the captain's emotional reaction. He said that the table of talents that he had been brought only included those below 700. The boy said that he needed the full table, and should get it as soon as possible. But no sooner had the boy finished his sentence, than at that very second the captain left the room. He ran for the talent table because he realized that the boy is a real miracle, and he is unlikely to meet someone like him. So the captain had to fulfill his assignment as soon as possible so that the boy could study the talent chart. The captain ran as fast as he could, shouting, "Talent, talent! I must get him that talent chart!" The captain knew that the boy was a very rare find, and he must help him with this chart. After a few minutes, the captain returned to his office and brought him a huge stack of papers. He walked tiredly into the room and handed him the papers and asked, "You don't seem to know much about the tower, but why?" The boy replied that he had lost his memory. "You lost your memory? From what you said before, it can't be true. You certainly could have found a better reason." The captain was still panting as he tried to process what the boy was telling him, sweat dripping down his face. Meanwhile, the boy picked up the paper folder the captain had brought him and answered him. "Yeah, so you better believe it. To avoid bad consequences, my kidnappers may have used some means to forcibly erase my memory." The boy realized that he couldn't just lose his memory. Someone was behind this and that someone was using secret talents. The captain replies, "Uh-huh. Let me first say that Wu Ju has the highest talent of all 3 lower floors. It was the boy who spent 24 days outside the tower, the one the captain is now telling the blonde-haired boy who lost his memory about. Talent 256. Ultimate Shadow. It's been a long time since anyone with a higher level." The boy interjects to the captain, "What about the top 100? Were there any of those?" The boy is curious to know every little detail about the talents and talent levels of the people here. Well look, Talent 76, Absolute Dissolution. It's said that over 20 years ago, Miner awakened his talent. It's not like winning the lottery. It's literally going straight to heaven. It could be the Miner got insanely lucky. He went from the lowest class to the strongest. The captain starts remembering all the stories he's ever heard, starts remembering the people who possess the highest level of talent. I think the boy had it bad. The boy realized that after the Miner realized his high level of strength and high level of talent, He was immediately kidnapped and probably disappeared from the area forever. So the boy thinks that maybe it was just the miner's bad luck to suddenly realize his incredible strength and talent. The captain said this miner just disappeared. They assumed that he was taken by an organization from the higher floors. After all, people from the higher floors always want to take talented and strong people to themselves. They specifically screen out talented people, and not talented leaving people without talent on the lower floors and not letting them come to them. The man may have been taken to the 5th or 6th floor, but the case was not investigated. Instead, they only tried to erase the man's information. The information about this miner was deleted from all databases, and the files that the boy was brought in were deleted as well. The boy looks at the documents the captain has brought him and sees information about Talent 24, the Eye of Preyas. Through focused gaze, you can gain information about a character that corresponds to the hidden side of your personality. Additional abilities of the talent are unknown. The boy says it's a level 24 talent pretty high, and that's great news. It must have something to do with important information. After all, the boy has just come to this world and hasn't learned much yet, so this talent number 24 can help him a lot in learning about the new world and getting the new information that the boy needs so badly right now. The boy wonders about the hidden side of his personality. He asks the question, is it so cheaply priced? Questioning why his body has such high skills. Has his body been outside the tower for a long time? Except, his accompanying power is weak, so this is the first time his body has been outside after all. The boy is trying to think about everything he's heard recently, but he can't understand many of the details of his story. The boy is sure his body still has many secrets to tell. The boy is still sitting at the same table as the captain and asks him, "By the way, can anyone force a talent measurement?" The captain immediately answers, "No, all talents are individual. Like for example, in the socket case, many people's talents are hidden and never manifest themselves. That is, if a person does not want to share his talent, he can never show it to anyone, and no one can forcibly find out the talents of other people unless they themselves want to do so." The boy also asks the captain if a person can only have one talent, or if more than one can be awakened. The boy is curious about all the details of the new world. He wants to know the smallest details of the talents and powers, because if someone wants to buy him, he needs to be fully armed and as ready as possible to meet the danger. The captain answers that you can only awaken one talent. But on the 6th floor they say that you can get additional talents by killing some strong monsters. But they are monsters, and even if there are such strong creatures, it is better not to meet them on your way for additional talents, because meeting them can be fatal. The boy replies to the captain, "That's right. Glarpreja is not suitable for combat. Even though you can unlock a talent, it may not be suitable for combat. I must find a way to get out of the tower and find another talent." The boy realizes that he can't choose two talents, so he can't take on battles with dignity and needs another talent. But the captain sat and waited for something else entirely. As soon as the boy finished reading all the papers he had brought him, he said to him, "I got you a spreadsheet. How about a deal?" The captain obviously expected the boy to join his team and work with him, because the captain wanted to see such a talented and strong man in his team. But the boy clearly had other plans. He answered him, "I'm sorry, brother. You're a good man, but I choose the 7th unit." The boy obviously did not want to disappoint the captain, but he had already made his decision and did not intend to change it. The captain was very disappointed. "Ah, what? Why?" The boy answered him calmly. "In the last 3 hours of interrogation, I learned that the 7th unit out of all 24 units most often went outside the tower. The boy was only interested in his goals, so he wanted to achieve his goals as fast as possible. He was not interested in other commands, but only those that would help him fulfill his desires as soon as possible." But the captain didn't stop, asking the boy, "Isn't the fact that this crew is the most likely to go outside the tower a reason not to join them? More to the point, if the boy wants to get out of the tower, then I'll transfer you to advanced squad number 13. If you don't want to leave, then join the interrogation squad. Just ask." The captain really wanted to help the boy, for he saw incredible strength in him and wanted to be close to him. The boy asked the captain, "Brother, you're still single, right?" The captain was shocked. The boy knew that about him too. The captain couldn't understand how the boy could find out such minute details about his identity, so he stood amazed. The boy continues, "Remember, you should choose the one you initially like. Don't waste your time. You lost because you were late. Since my first impression was the 7th unit, I'm closer to them. Indeed, the first people who talked to the boy were the guys from the 7th unit. They met him, told him basic things about the world, so the boy chooses them over the captain and his 13th Corps. And you know what else? The number 13 is unlucky. Smiling, said the boy, and left the office, leaving the captain in the room, who was disappointed with what just happened, because he tried so hard to bring the boy all the documents to get him in his team, but in the end he did not get anything. The boy and 3 other people ride in an elevator down to a depth of 900 meters. They go down, and meanwhile they discuss the details of the boy's emergence, and in the world. One of the team members tells the boy, "From your fingerprint, we learned that you previously had no ID. But since you have joined our unit, you have become at least a low-floor citizen." The boy realizes that as he learns more and more facts about himself and his past body, it turns out that the boy never had any identification. The boy also says that they have found him a place to live in the southwest part of the lowest floor. Of course, he has to pay the rent himself. The rent is 400 taz per month. But the boy has no job at all. He has nowhere to get money, but it seems he will sort it out later on. A voice in his head tells the boy that during the game it is not often that you meet the strongest character at the beginning. So this dark-haired boy seems to be that strongest character, and this opportunity should not be missed in any way. The dark-haired boy continues to speak. "Yes, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Gu Qingyu. You can call me Captain Gu." The voice in his head tells the boy that this dark-haired character is hiding something that interests even the people on the 6th floor. There's clearly some mystery and secret about him. Captain Gu says that if the boy doesn't want to go outside the tower, then let him join the group. That group has had a lot of business piling up lately, and the boy will have a lot of work to do there. After all, the boy needs the work to pay for the housing they found especially for him in the southwest part of the tower. After not listening to Captain Agu's speech, our protagonist suddenly declares that he wants to leave the tower tomorrow. Everyone else in the elevator was puzzled and turned around to look at him. All were surprised at this bold behavior of the boy. After all, he just recently got into the tower and was safe. Why would he again go out into a world full of threats and monsters? The captain said that they had checked the boy's accompanying strength, and since he was in the blue zone, it took less than 2 hours for that strength to increase from level 1 to level 3. But at that level, even if the boy met the weakest monster, he would die in the first few minutes and wouldn't be able to adequately resist any threat. The protagonist doesn't let the captain finish his sentence and says that if he wants to remind him that it's dangerous outside the tower and he's not allowed to go out, there's no need. The boy is simply asking to be allowed to go along with the experience of his partner, and he will not disturb anyone present here. The only thing the boy wants right now is to go outside the tower, and he doesn't want anyone to restrict him from that desire. The captain replied sternly, "Okay, tomorrow at 10 a.m. I'll lead a group of 4 men, plus you. We'll get a squad of 6 men and go to the white zone." The captain was initially reluctant to take the boy with him, but seeing his persistence and pressure, he realized it would be easier to take him with him to keep him out of the tower. So the captain agreed and offered to let the boy leave the tower tomorrow morning. Finally, the boy. "By the way, what is in the blue zone?" There was silence around the boy. Everyone realized that the boy really knows absolutely nothing about this world. He doesn't know even the most basic things. Meanwhile, the elevator arrived at the desired floor and opened its doors. Captain Gu stood near the exit and told everyone inside that they had arrived and could go out. "This is where you will live." The captain showed the boy a huge city. Everywhere fun advertising banners and different colored lights were burning. Below stood some boxes in which people probably lived. But it all looked like a huge megapolis inside a big tower. The boy got into the area under the first floor of the tower. This area was called Port Jianlu. He asked him to forgive him for making the boy wait for some formalities. The boy suggested that the main character first take him to where he will now live, and at the same time take a walk with him. He informed the boy that all things had already been taken to his new place of residence. After all, this night, before leaving the tower, he will have to spend it in this place. But still, that boy took the clothes with him to give it to the main character, and so that he would put it on and not freeze. So he gave the boy a sweater that he took from his things before they were sent to move. The boy also said that if the hero likes something along the way, they can buy it. It turns out that the captain gave him some money. This money was in the bag. The boy liked the same with goodwill, and he felt respect for the captain and gratitude. The boy told the hero that the street ahead is called the port. Here you can buy absolutely anything. The boy should not be trusted by merchants who will try to sell jilin to him. Jilin at 17 o'clock, I think everyone understands what it means to be 17 hours outside the tower. The girl who was riding with them in the elevator approached the boys. She walked along the street with them and also wanted to take the boy to his new place of residence, and at the same time, talk to him. Suddenly the boy saw a huge screen above his head on which a commercial was being broadcast. The boy in this commercial was saying, "You can buy this shovel, it has divine power." The commercial was very bright and the sound from it spread throughout the street. The voice in the boy's head immediately said, "Wow, how much did it cost to place such an advertisement?" The boy in the commercial said, "Just imagine, you just dug, but you have already dug so much that others cannot do in a month. If I hadn't joined the reconnaissance corps, I would definitely have kept it for myself. And now I can only throw it away or sell it to some lucky person." The commercial was very bright and loud, but the boy in the video claimed that he belongs to the intelligence corps. But next to the main character, a girl was walking, who really belonged to this corps and really was Scout 1, and she suddenly screamed, "What is happening? There are no such people in our corps. Why are there still people pretending to be us?" It turned out that the boy in the commercial was not any scout, but simply impersonated them in order to sell goods more efficiently. The girl was very angry and shouted, "We must not allow him to tarnish the name of our corps. Went! Report to the captain and he will deal with him." The girl could not believe that some imposter could entrust the name of her squad, so she wanted to deal with this as quickly as possible and punish the guilty. The boy who accompanied the main character tried to stop the girl and calm her down, but the main character told him to go with her and leave him alone, because in fact he did not need help and he could deal with everything himself. The boy accepted the offer of the protagonist, gave him a bag of money, and ran after the girl to stop her, and so that she would not do wrong things and do stupid things. At this moment, the boy runs away and leaves our hero alone in an unfamiliar city. The boy began to look around. He saw many bright signs and inscriptions around him. There were many showcases with various goods around him. In one of these showcases, the boy looked and looked at what was inside for a long time. The boy was interested in everything that is around him, because he had never seen anything like it and did not live such a busy life. Half an hour later, the boy still comes to his home. He was looking for the entrance to his new house for a very long time, since in a foreign city it was difficult for him to navigate the street, and therefore the road to his overnight stay took quite a long time, but still he successfully reached the appointment. The night was ahead of him, and after it in the morning the boy went on a new adventure beyond the territory of the tower. There new threats and dangers lay in wait for him. There monsters and people who wanted to punish him were waiting for him. But the boy didn't care. He wanted to find out everything he forgot, restore his memory, and punish the rich who place bets on the survival of people outside the tower.